So today I've decided to introduce you to one of my favorite shows, Star versus the Forces of Evil. Now, when I do this show for Overtly Critical, I would like to point out that it is also going to be part of another sub-series called Ours Now, where I point out diversity in the media I consume. Now, Star versus the Forces of Evil, the main character, Star Butterfly, as I will explain as we go through this sort of live viewing that I've decided to do for it, is very autistic. She is entirely autistic. Like, I couldn't describe one thing about her that I do not resonate with. I'll try to give timestamps starting from the very start of the theme song if I can. So, enjoy. I am Kay. I like to do things. Welcome to Overtly Critical. So, this show has some pretty good intros. I mean, it's the same song for both, but the animation is just really cute and bubbly and bouncy. Like, at 30 seconds in and onward, the way that she just bounces onto the screen is just great. She is adorable. I forgot to point out that some of these observations are taken from some old stream notes I had where I streamed this with some friends, and I went through and we looked for diverse things like Star having autism and ADHD. I don't really remember who I need to credit here, but I'll try to figure out who was in the old group and credit them in the description for their help. So the episode starts out with Star rolling down the staircase on the rails and knocking over a painting, and she doesn't even seem fazed by everything that just happened. Like, she's probably done this several times before, ain't nothing new to her. Some people have called me reckless and irresponsible just because I fight monsters. I mean, sure, that's part of it, Star, but I think there's more to it than that. And tame wild unicorns. So she just randomly jumps on this unicorn with no regard for her own safety. But I mean, again, I guess she's done it before. She just barges through the town on the wild unicorn, and everybody like literally screams and runs out of the way. Jesus, Star, what have you put these people through? At 113, all I could think of when that cart broke down, when as she jumped over it, was my cabbages. So at 123, we get her bursting through the castle door, again to screams of horror as she is on a wild unicorn. She seems to have no regard for everybody else's safety, which might indicate a lack of empathy on her part. And then, like, she just jumps off the horse, and the horse freaking goes through the brick wall. And I'm just like, goddamn. At 128, we see her biting her fingers and bouncing. And if that's not super stimmy, then I don't know what is. Look at her reach for it all excited like before her mom can even explain the importance of it. Then at 135, she's bouncing and she's doing she's opening and closing her hands. And it's so adorable, and like, that is some top tier stim right there. She doesn't even listen to her mom when her mom warns that if the wand was to fall into evil forces, the world could be destroyed. Like, Star, come on. Don't worry, Mom, I can handle it. Immediate cut to the entire town burning to death. And thus begins Star death count. Indeterminate amount currently, as we aren't sure if anybody actually died in the village. But I will be keeping up a death count of Star's confirmed kills. Thank you very much. At 208, we get Star's incredible fear of St. Olga's Reform School for Wayward Princesses. Now, what you'll learn about St. Olga's through the series is that it strips princesses and people of their personalities and tries to make them conform to all one perfect princess mold. And of course, Star would be terrified of that. Anybody would, but Star especially, because she's not necessarily like other princesses. She is reckless and kind of irresponsible and likes to have a lot of fun. She doesn't want to be this prim, proper princess, and she doesn't need to be. So she's terrified of this place where she'll have to go and conform to everyone's societal expectations. And I relate to that. Like, trying to pretend to not be autistic is hard. And sometimes things come up where you might have to do that, where people don't understand. River, you'd really consider Earth a safer dimension? Please? Oh god. At 2:41, we just get a kid nervously coming up to, like, I guess they're manticores and taking a picture of them. Like, the people on Earth here have no chill when it comes to magic. Like, it's almost like nobody gives a fuck at first. And if they do happen to give a fuck, they have very little regard for their own safety when they do. At 2:48, we get Star flicking on and off the lights because she doesn't seem to understand electricity. And she thinks that it's pretty neat that it can do that. And she's stimming pretty hardcore right now. And she assumes that the technology that allows the light to turn on and off like that is magic. Though to be fair, I guess if you lived in a dimension without electricity, like she seems to, you probably wouldn't understand electricity at all. But she is very intrigued by this light, I tell you. 2:58, this isn't gonna work. Immediately pulls out like a chest full of freaking gold and shit. Like, I would probably do. I mean, he is kind of endangering his students, but then again, Star endangering Muni by staying, so. She's still flicking the lights. Yeah, giving her a guide to the unfamiliar place might not be such a bad idea. Because, like, I mean, anywhere new is going to be rough. And adjusting to these places that are new to you can be especially hard if you're autistic. And at 3:14, we meet Marco Diaz. And I'd like to point out that he is of some sort of, I believe, Hispanic descent. And that's some good diversity right there, as he is one of the main characters. Now, at 3:14, he gets called to the principal's office. And he goes like, ooh, I'm in trouble. And he's like really upset that he got voted safest kid in school. I mean, but what kind of overperforming masculinity is this, Marco? Like, one of the things that I'll be watching out for is Marco possibly being a trans girl, or at least gender fluid, which I believe he is. However, until he changes his pronouns in show, I'll use he, him for Marco, just to avoid confusion. And then adorably he asks if he needs a hall pass. And at 3:38, Marco meets Star to be her guide, and Star is looking curiously at this water fountain, and she presses it and it spurts out water, and Star, not being familiar with electricity, or I guess plumbing, jumps at it and starts like, gets in an attack position, as if it just attacked her by shooting water at her. And like, this girl jumps to some strange conclusions. And at 3:50, we get Marco freaking out about being considered the safe kid again. Like, come on, Marco, you are pretty safe. I'm a misunderstood bad boy. Frickin' SpongeBob meme that. The principal's reaction is my reaction. You're adorable. I mean, honestly, if I got a whole, like, thing of gold, ice cream wouldn't be a bad thing to start off with, you know? And then at 4:04, we get Star holding on to and biting on the water fountain, even though it's clearly not doing anything and it's clearly metal. She seems to think that biting it's going to be effective, instead of like using her magic on it like we expected her to begin with. And then at around 4:05, right after that, she is skipping next to Marco. Like I said, this is a very bouncy girl, and I love her so much. And for some reason, as she moves along, she is amazed by every single thing in this school. And she's so excited to meet other people. It's so cute. Oh, and then at 4:15, we get her chewing on her wand. As somebody who that's a good stim for, I totally relate. Like, I'll chew on just about anything, really. Like, I've got a couple chew stim toys somewhere around here. And you'll see that this isn't the first or the last time that she's going to end up doing this. Okay, it might be the first, but it's definitely not the last. And as they're walking along, Marco just like is going on about how, no, I'm really a bad boy. I'm not a safe kid, but at the same time, he's like, oh, watch your step, loose tile, things like that, and just like watching out for every danger. And here we got at 4:18 Star being mesmerized by a trash can. What? At 4:24, Marco revealed that he wore a helmet in the gym shower once. Marco, come on, please, baby, please, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. I can't defend you on this. Was he afraid of tripping and falling? What's going on? At 4:31, Marco says that he likes taking risks and would welcome some danger into his life, which I don't doubt. Like, maybe the monotony of normal life is just not really that entertaining to Marco. I mean, you want to be safe and stuff, but he, like, shelters himself from taking any risks. And right after that, at 4:32, Star misunderstands what he means and turns a butterfly into a horrible, grotesque monster, which then carries away a kid, Star Death Count 1, and, like, that's a hell of a misunderstanding, Star. Like, she took things way too literally there, which is a very autistic thing to do. And she doesn't seem overly concerned that this kid just got taken away to possibly fucking die at the hands of this grotesque butterfly monster thing. And Marco is reasonably freaking out, while Star's just like nonchalantly being like, "Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm a princess with magic from another dimension." And at 4:56, Marco reasonably goes, "Well, that's enough for today. I'm going home." Which, like, honestly, yeah, that's reasonable. And as he walks away at 5:03, Star fails to realize that he's freaked out and confused, and she just, like, with the fire burning on a rainbow behind her, is waving goodbye to her new friend Marco, while Marco walks away very concerned. And Star doesn't even realize. Even as he takes off running, and we hear a fire truck siren coming up. At 5:16, we reveal that Star is going to be living with Marco as a foreign exchange student, which they've had exchange students before, but he didn't exactly expect her to be the exchange student. And at 5:16, she is bouncing on the couch, eager, as if she didn't freak out Marco earlier. She just is so excited to see him again, as if nothing even happened. And at 5:23, she's just like bowing and bouncing because she's like so excited that this is Marco's parents that she's going to be living with. She just assumed everybody on Earth had the last name Diaz. Is that how it works on Muni or something? Star, please. She's my beautiful autistic baby, I swear. At 5:37, Marco's like, well, we could have gotten this energy from a litter of puppies, and Star summons up about 8 puppies that can shoot lasers from their eyes, because I guess she interpreted it as, oh, you like puppies? Well, I can summon a litter of puppies. And at around 5:45, we get a shot of her biting on her wand again. R.I.P. Mr. Diaz's eye. 5:51. And like Star just bounds up the stairs at 5:59, not even helping Marco with her heavy ass chest. Now, we meet Ludo, who's the main antagonist for most of the first season of Star vs. the Forces of Evil. He's a very tiny, I think he's modeled after a bird or a kappa or something, but he is very small and he's got kind of an inferiority thing about that. But the reason I point out Ludo is not just to introduce him, but also he's a foil to Star. He is also autistic, which you'll get a lot of once we get to spend some time with him in season 2. And I didn't realize this till I was probably in season 2, or maybe towards the end of season 1. But he is also autistic, and having an autistic villain isn't really that bad of a thing if your main character is also autistic and the bad guy serves as a foil to the main character. So I think that Ludo is also quite autistic. He just shows it in different ways than Star, which is great because every autistic person is different. But we'll get more into Ludo the more we see of him. And like Star at 6:48 still hasn't helped Marco carrying her chest of belongings, while the laser puppies are constantly hitting his leg with the lasers. They must not be very deadly lasers if his main reaction is just an ow. And at 6:48 we have Star biting on her wand once again. That good stim though. And then she uses magic to change her new room into like this huge palace room. And like, goddamn, I wish I had that ability. Look at how big this room is. At like, God, my room's kind of tiny. I wish I could do that. And she takes to jumping on the bed like immediately at 7:05ish. And it's at this point in my stream notes that, well, a lot of the things I'm pointing out, I'm just doing like a kind of sort of frame by frame thing on my own, but sometimes I'll notice a couple things in my old stream notes that I wouldn't have noticed otherwise. And at this point, we have somebody who has said during my stream that when Star summoned her room, that was the girliest room they'd ever seen. And immediately after, Marco is like, wow, I wish I had a room like this. And Marco makes the mistake of saying that he wishes he had a room like that. And Star immediately goes to his room and tries to change it into something he would like, but fails and ends up summoning a black hole to his room, which sucks in all his things. I mean, good on you for trying, Star. See again, Star taking too many things literally. At 7:20, RIP one of the laser puppies, I guess, but I think he comes back later, so I'm not sure if we'll count this in Star's death count yet. At 7:27, Marco pointed out that she had said the word suck in the spell, and that's probably what put the black hole there. And Star says, I don't know, it just came out that way, and it did come out that way. I thought she said stuff at first, which is probably what she was trying to say, but it came out wrong. And that's something I also relate to a lot. And as she's like, I don't know, it just came out that way, she is like bouncing from foot to foot, all worried like, and that is also a stim. Star tries to make it better at 7:38 by making like a little sun over his head, but it turns into a rain cloud, which gets Marco's socks wet, which he cannot stand. So this is like the last straw for him. And so at 7:45, Marco's like, well, I'm leaving then. And he goes out the window and falls into a bunch of cactuses, of course. And as he falls, Star like hugs her wand reflexively. It's already become so much of a stim object for her, no longer than she's had it. She probably had it less than like a day or two. I still don't see the 8th laser puppy back yet. And at like 8:03ish, maybe a little earlier, Star's debating whether to go after Marco or not, and she like keeps reaching out and like then putting her hand near her mouth and then like reaching out, and she's like really indecisive. And she like starts to walk away but then runs back to the window. And we cut to Marco at 8:11 like demanding customers at this gas station he's in front of give him a refill on his drink, because they won't let him inside anymore because he's got the rain cloud over him and he's soggy. God, at 8:20, Marco just like bites straight through the freaking wrapper of this chocolate bar. Then he yells something weird at the second couple people that come out. He's like, you come to my house, you bring toilet paper. I'm so confused. 8:25, he sees Star and immediately like goes into like defensive mode, because she like freaked him out, I guess, by just appearing, but also everything that she's put him through today. At this point, she gets rid of the cloud. And at 8:31, she starts to apologize to Marco as she hits her wand softly against her face. And Star is really sad that she disappointed Marco so much and says that she'll go find somewhere else to live with. However, Marco points behind her that the monsters have appeared. And this little exchange that we get between Ludo and Star is priceless. She's like, "How did you know I was here?" And he says, "Wouldn't you like to know?" And Star goes, "Yeah, that's why I asked." And not understanding sarcasm, A plus, totally relatable autism trait. I'm just like, me? And then to prove my point that Ludo is also autistic, he actually begins to explain to Star. He's like, "Well, the frog," and then he like interrupts himself, realizing that he's getting away from the point. But the fact that he almost didn't understand Star's response just like blows my mind. And so they go to attack Star, but Marco jumps the fuck in and starts karate chopping the fuck out of these guys. And like, oof. Marco's priorities sure are weird. Like, he like, every little thing is danger to him. And he likes to stay safe. But the minute that these monsters appear, he is ready to fucking fight. He's ready to kick some ass. I mean, he is ready to go. Like, he wasn't kidding when he said he'd welcome some danger into his life. Damn. Oh, a puddle? Dangerous. Gotta avoid it. Monsters? Oh, hell yeah. And throughout the ensuing fight, Star is just so bouncy. And like the spells that Star uses are just something that I feel like someone her age would come up with. So like, hey, realistic. At 9:46, she uses the spell Jelly Bean Hallucination Mist, and I swear to God, it made Bullfrog high. Just annihilate these monsters. And Star's like, "You want some of this, Ludo?" And Ludo's just like, no. And he just like leaves. I love it. Despite everything that happened, after that at 10:46, Marco decides that he's okay with Star staying with them because he likes the excitement and gets to fight some monsters. And he is just hyped that there's monsters that are going to be attacking like all the time. And he's like so hyped for the danger, but he won't even like jaywalk. He's gonna cross at the light like a good child. And that brings us to the end of the episode 1 analysis. I hope you enjoyed. So, to summarize, Star is incredibly autistic, Marco is Marco, and Star is staying with Marco. I hope you enjoyed. I'll be back next time, maybe with episode 2, or maybe I'll do a different show. But I definitely do want to do more Star versus the Forces of Evil because every episode is jam-packed with representation. Because when you have one of your main characters being Hispanic and possibly like OCD or autistic themselves, and then you have your main character being incredibly autistic, that's good representation. So I'd like to keep pointing out the representation that Star versus the Forces of Evil gives us. I consider it to be canon that Star is autistic because how would she not be after all of this? And you'll see more and more of it as time goes on. So that'll be all for today. Have a nice day. Stay safe. Bye.